In part 1 of this series, we turned to science to look at the possible reality of God. What we found is that according to science, nothingness, the actual absence of reality, is inherently unstable and will, on its own, divide to create a balanced positive and negative somethingness. That's how the Big Bang happened, launching reality as we know it. So we said, what if that instability, the quality that makes nothingness split apart, is actually God? It would be a God that is not part of time and space, that is not part of physical reality, but a God that nevertheless creates, and a God that creates a universe suffused with a desire to reconjoin. It's pretty neat, really, but what religious tradition could possibly embrace such an idea of God? If you're new to our videos, the answer might surprise you. It's not some modern system that grew out of science. In fact, it predates all these ideas, and by a good bit. To demonstrate, let's do a quick timeline. The Big Bang Theory, first proposed in the 1930s, was all but confirmed by space telescopes around 1990. It was based in the work of Albert Einstein. In his 1905 theory of special relativity, Einstein said that mass, the physical stuff that makes up us and everything around us, is actually large amounts of energy trapped in small areas in space. In 1916's theory of general relativity, he said reality is like a fabric made of space and time, and the fabric gets warped and wrinkled by energy to create gravity. Those ideas are both key to how the Big Bang works. Einstein, meanwhile, was inspired by James Clerk Maxwell, who in 1865 showed that light behaved in very strange ways, apparently violating the laws of gravity and mechanics, laws which were identified by Isaac Newton in 1687 and had gone unchallenged for almost 2 centuries. So what did we know in 1763? Not much. Space and time were an unchanging backdrop to a universe that had always been the same, while masses and forces behaved in utterly predictable ways. But in 1763, Swedish theologian Emanuel Swedenborg published Divine Love and Wisdom, a book offering a very strange-sounding version of God and reality. Swedenborg said that God is love itself, a love so powerful that it is the ultimate source of all energy in the universe, and in fact is the actual substance of reality. That sounds an awful lot like the essentially infinite energy of the Big Bang, which is the source of all matter and energy in the universe, along with space and time themselves. Swedenborg said that love's only desire is to be conjoined to something outside itself, to have something to love. So love, or God, creates, because it is the nature and inclination of love to create. That sounds a lot like the inherent instability of nothingness, the inclination nothingness has to split and become something. Swedenborg said that love, or God, created the universe and physical reality itself by emanating out and withdrawing to create something that was essentially dead but that could receive life. That sounds a lot like the energy of the Big Bang ballooning out to create and continually enlarge space, an enlargement that allowed the energy to cool off enough to become the world we know. Swedenborg said that love, as a substance, needed to take form in order to express itself, and the form is wisdom, wisdom which can shape love into ideas and expressions. These ideas and expressions, little packets of love given useful forms, were the actual agents of creation, he said. This is an idea Einstein might have recognized. It is very similar to his insight that physical matter is really energy trapped in space, that the physical stuff of our world is a collection of little packets of energy given useful forms. Swedenborg said that the duality of love and wisdom is reflected throughout the universe, with images of love and wisdom expressed as light and heat, animals and plants, food and water, female and male, all with a desire to come together. This is much like the duality of positive and negative energy and the tendency they have to recombine. Swedenborg said that in a sense creation is ongoing, that God's love sustains the universe moment by moment in a kind of continuous creation. This is much like the tiny particles and antiparticles that keep popping into existence and recombining back out of existence in what scientists call quantum foam, an activity that sustains reality. And finally, Swedenborg said that God is not in time and space, but rather is in all time non-temporally and in all space non-spatially. That's a heck of a concept, but it means God fills time and space from the outside, but is not bound by them or their physical rules. It would be another 153 years before Einstein became the first scientist to see time and space in a similar way, as dynamic aspects of reality rather than as a static backdrop to reality. So on point after point, Swedenborg's God mirrors the God we found in science in part 1 of this series. There's really just one major departure, which is God's humanity. That's an aspect that is huge in Swedenborg. He sees God as the ultimate human, with our humanity just a reflection of God's. He sees God as a listening, caring, reacting, personal presence, a love that is not just general to the universe, but also specific to each one of us. He sees God actively working to bring happiness to each of us, the true happiness of loving conjunction, which we can have as we learn to love. That aspect is not in science. But as we noted in the first video, it's not contrary to science either, if God is outside of the time and space of physical reality. So is God real? The creative urge that underpins existence certainly is. And given the accuracy with which Swedenborg described that creative urge almost 200 years earlier, we sure wouldn't be too quick to discard the human aspects he describes.